Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch.
You invited me away. You told me to go away. Could she be angry over that?
Well, Mary asked me to stop staying at the house. Yeah.
I never talked to her about that.
All right, so to catch you up, we're now in season 11. Mary is worried about Mariah, and it sounds way worse than what I thought. Mary is saying that Mariah is refusing to talk to Mary and has been doing so for a long time. And I guess the leading theory that they have, I think, or at least that Cody has, but Cody doesn't seem dialed in exactly, so we can't necessarily trust his theories here. But the only thing we have from the edit, I think, is that Mariah is upset she had to pull away. So who knows? But for kids who are in a situation like, we saw this with Clay in season 6 of Love is Blind, where you have a child or an adult child who knows that their parent is cheating or is doing something disloyal. Like if a child knows that one of their parents is talking to a lawyer about getting a divorce and they know that their other parent doesn't know about that. Case-by-case basis, every situation is different, but it's not uncommon for a child in a situation like that to have a crisis of loyalty, because children, generally speaking, want to be loyal to all of their caregivers. And when they're forced into a position where they have to be disloyal one way or the other, right? If they tell, I don't know, but if Mariah tells Cody, and I guess all the other sister wives, what's happening, then she would be disloyal to Mary. If she doesn't, then she's disloyal to everyone else. And so it's a dilemma that is very painful for young people. I think older people might have an easier time navigating it, depending. But for younger people, it can be really hard. And what they need to do is to engage in some kind of defense against this pain. And one of the ways that they will do it is to just reject the whole enterprise or to get secretly angry. And I think for Mariah, what she did was I don't know if this is what's happening, but it's possible that she decided that she was just going to resent and have contempt for Mary and distance herself. You can imagine a kid doing this, just wanting to be close and loving, and then you're forced in this position and you don't know what to do and you're upset. You feel, especially with all the religious moralizing that probably happens in their household, that you could go to hell, literally, for lying, and you're watching your parent, you're losing faith in your parent, maybe all of your parents, and you are forced to figure out what to do. So you just say, I hate this whole thing. Another defense that I'll see kids do is they will become ultra loyal to Mary and will invent reasons to hate everyone else, or the opposite, right? So there's a lot of different defenses that are available, but a defense is needed nonetheless, because there's no way out of it. You're stuck. You're like Hal if you watch 2010, the movie. But anyway, so I think that's what they're talking about. We're also learning more specifics about how Mary had told Cody to go away. And I think that was because, according to Mary's narrative now, she was pushing people away because she wanted to protect the rest of the family. I think that's, I believe her in that way, but I also wonder if she's obscuring the beginning of that relationship with the catfisher, in that Mary was having an emotional affair, at least the way that it looks to me. Cody apparently doesn't see it that way. But the other thing here that I'll reiterate, that Cody seems to be approaching the situation with not a lot of passion about it. The fact that Mary told him to go away, and he did, which is good that he did that, but didn't try to fix it, right? Didn't plead, the way that Robin would, the way Robin kept reaching out to her and felt the pain of that distance. Cody didn't seem to have that. And, we could speculate as to why. Maybe he was experiencing the pain, but it wasn't enough, or he just feels that pain in a different way. But I think this is a I'm not seeing a lot of good signs. This is spanning over several seasons now, because she discloses this in season 9, from my notes anyway. And so this could be like a year later, or I don't know. I don't know how they shoot these shows. I guess I could look it up. But the way they're talking about it, it wasn't that long ago. But anyway, it is not a good sign that there's that much distance and it hasn't been repaired for. They've been talking thus far about going to therapy with Nancy to talk about it, which is good. And I like that impulse that family members have. Cody said, maybe we should go to Nancy if you want to talk about this. There's another possibility, which is like, okay, we can go to Nancy and we can talk about it here. But I wonder if Cody just wants to have that. And, I'll have couples that will do that. The ultimate goal is that you'll have a couple that won't need therapy anymore, right? But, in the interim, sometimes it can be a helpful thing. Conflict can be hard, and it can help to have someone that knows you and cares about you and can, help you navigate it. Sometimes people will think of it as like a referee that the therapist is, and I suppose in some ways it kind of is, but really it's deeper than that. I'm not helping them to compromise. People say, couple therapists will help couples compromise. That's not what couple therapy is supposed to be. Because if that's all it is, then all you need to do is take each position and just say, okay, meet in the middle. Okay, done. But things are way more complicated than that. So, plus, like in a lot of situations, you don't have to meet in the middle. Everyone can get what they want. You can assert and get what you want at the same time as everyone else. It's just a matter of understanding what exactly is happening without engaging in the defenses that both people will that engage in. But anyway, so Mary is distraught about Mariah, and yeah, I guess I'm worried about that too.
I mean, are you hopeful about being able to sort this out?
I'm working very hard not to be hopeless.
Huh. Yeah, wow. I mean, it makes sense given the way they've been talking. So is this what happens in season 14? I keep wondering what happens, that they split up or something, or they decide to just be friends or distant. I mean, it's kind of that way now. It's interesting because the show has been on for many years by this point, and in the beginning they had a much different vibe. So I wonder what happened there. And I also just wonder the quality. The suspicion I have at this point for Cody is that, given the way that it looks, he does have, I think, a connection with Robin and maybe with Christine. I think with Janelle, that relationship, I think, became cold between the two of them long before the show started to be filmed. I think for Cody and Mary, I think at the beginning of the show, season 1, they had a deeper connection and more intimacy. I wouldn't be surprised if Christine, given all the effort that she put into retaining closeness with Cody, I think might have worked kind of. But now, I don't know. There's a lot of indications that Christine is giving up on a certain thing, which makes you think, well, Cody must be connecting with Robin, but I don't really see that either. It makes me wonder if Cody's pulling away from everyone, and I also have been wondering if, because Cody has been talking a lot about how he loves family, and they don't really show a lot of those scenes, which I think is a good idea, because I think it should focus, if not completely, solely focus on the parents and not the kids. But I also wonder if, because a lot of the kids are moving out and also just becoming teenagers and less interested in family, that Cody is losing his identity or something, or he's pulling away out of a reflex of that distance, or he isn't needed anymore or something. Because in season 1, most of the there were some teenagers for sure, but a lot of the kids were in grade school age or younger, and there were kids yet to be born. And so I wonder if for Cody, and the way the family operated, right, the way the sister wives would really depend on each other for childcare, I wonder if they're all just drifting apart. It kind of seems that way to me. So there's that. And then I wonder, well, without the kids, and then you also just got to wonder like how being on a reality TV show is going to mess with you, right? Because I think what we're learning is during the catfishing, it wasn't just the catfisher that was in contact with Mary and maybe the others, but it was many people. Mary was talking about how she was talking with a lot of people. And at first I'm thinking, well, she's just meaning random people, but it's also quite possible that everyone she was talking to were fans of the show. And the way that the fans of the show will talk is to be very black and white about people like Cody. And you just imagine that getting into people's heads, right? Janelle and Christine, especially if you have that amount of naivete that I think that they do, that they've talked about regarding online discussions. Or there was a lack of foundation anyway, and once it was in the light of day, and because, if people were telling me about how horrible my wife was, I would like to think that it wouldn't affect me because we have a strong foundation regardless, right? So maybe it just sort of exploited the already shaky foundation, which, I could see. I could also just see how in a lot of marriages, they just have an egg timer in that you set it once you fall in love, and it's just a matter of time before time runs out. Sometimes time will run out after you die so that you stay married to that person, your whole life. But for most marriages, for most relationships, it's, 5, 10, 15 years or something, and then it just runs its course, and then it's over. And so maybe this is just normal for that. It also looks like Cody, I'm just wondering if we went back to when Mary was telling Cody to go away and not come around. I wonder how he felt. Was he very, very hurt, but giving her space? Or did he not really care? Was he to blame for why she wanted to push him away? I don't know.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's December, and for me anyway, the holiday season is filled with fond memories. I know that's not true for everyone, but regardless of one's personal experiences, I think that December is a good time to get a nice cozy blanket and get cozy, that kind of thing, at least for those of us in the northern latitudes. And speaking of getting cozy, I suppose, one could say that therapy is a great place to get cozy. Cozy with ourselves, to wrap the warm blanket of therapy around us. And with the advent of online therapy, you can even stay home and go to therapy and sit on your favorite couch and be wrapped up in your favorite blanket. Well, one place you can find a therapist to do this with is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. So find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
I just don't know that you and I are even on the same page.
Well, maybe we can talk, maybe we get in the same page, Here's the thing. You and I need to find out what page we're on. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of phrases that Cody uses, and I think Christine will say this. I think Janelle, Robin doesn't talk like this, but I think the three of them, Cody and Christine and Janelle, talk in a way that I think points at either in their head or even that they talk about off camera, which you have to figure happens, that they think that Mary left the family in essence years ago, and that the affair or the catfishing was just the final nail in the coffin or a manifestation of that distance. And they halfway respect Mary's decision to pull away and half resent her for not putting more effort in or whatever. That phrase that he, I think we have to figure out what page we're on, because I think for what Cody is saying is, I think we have to figure out, do you want to be here? And they've actually had those kinds of discussions, but it hasn't been resolved. And I wonder, because I've been in these situations before, and if each of them is open, so here's what likely is happening, and you can think about this for your own life, or even just thinking about if your parents went through a divorce or something. But right now, I suspect that there's a tiny, tiny, tiny flame still alive between the two of them, but it is almost out, and both of them are not sure if even that flame exists or if it even matters. And so you don't have the passion or the need or the care or the motivation to fuel the flame to get it going again. And you're both standing there looking at each other going, are you gonna fuel the flame? Because if you are, then I'll start to open up to maybe adding fuel. But if you're not, then I don't want to do it because I don't feel like it. And also I'm hurt. And maybe it's pointless. So what do we do here? But if both people decide, which, when people come to couple therapy, this is the kind of language I'll use, and I'll ask them. And it's a big part of the assessment process. Because, couples will come in this phase, which I think is like outside of their religious group. This is the phase of non-conflictual but very distant marriage that they might just settle for, but typically people will think about divorcing, especially if they start having romantic feelings outside of the relationship because they still have those needs. So I think that's where they're at. And so I would ask people, what do you want to do? And I've seen some couples will temporarily, they're in therapy, so typically they're wanting to improve things, not always, but typically. So I've seen couples where they will both commit, because I'll ask that explicitly, and they'll both tentatively say, well, I'll give it a shot if you do. And then 10 years later, they're stronger than they've ever been. Other couples, they'll say, I'm ready if you do it. And then 5 weeks later, they come in to session, weekly sessions, and they come in and they say, what, we've figured out we don't want to be in this marriage. we both don't, or I don't, even if we work on it, I think I'm done. It just sort of helps to clarify. And I've also seen some couples when asked that question that they're like, what, I don't think I want to, especially given that my partner doesn't really want to either. So what are we doing here? So I think that's where they're at. And I don't see much evidence that either one of them really cares to improve things. I think Cody is more conscious of this. I think Mary is just kind of spinning in confusion, really. I think maybe she's been doing that for a long time. I don't really have confidence that she's grounded. She could also just be reeling from the victimization. The harm and the confusion and the gaslighting and the self-esteem and the humiliation and the shame can really occupy. I imagine that's probably happening as well.
Because you're acting like somehow or another I've abandoned you. You told me to go away.
Cody, you know why.
This is why we need to go talk to Nancy, because I don't know why.
Yeah, I think what she's saying is, why? Because I was trying to protect you. And I think for Cody, he's saying, well, yeah, that's what you say, but I don't know. And I think on one hand, he's ignorant, as a lot of people are, of the syndrome of being victimized and how all-encompassing and terrifying and affecting it is to your state of mind and your judgment. But on the other hand, I think that he has some rational thought of, well, you were drifting away long before that, and the fact that you were even entertaining a lot of people online, but the fact that when he started, or the catfisher started to compliment you and flirt with you, that you didn't shut that down right away. I just think that says something about your motivation to be with me, and it says a lot. It sort of just really screams that you're just not in love with me anymore. You don't want to be with me anymore. And it's interesting because Cody, I don't know if I've shown all the clips, but through all the catfishing, he has been saying things like, I think that this is my fault to some extent, that I have failed Mary long ago, and I don't think she wants to be with me, and I'm responsible for a good portion of that. And I think that that's all where this comes from. So that kind of points in that direction of him thinking like the relationship was basically done or was almost done, and that's why this whole thing happened to begin with. Not the victimization, but the fact that you were open to flirting initially. But I also think that Mary is either, because of the victimization being so more intense than the initial situation, or she just is in denial or is ashamed. She isn't talking about those initial moments. Now, I don't know. I would love to ask her. Maybe she'll answer the question, but I would love to ask her, how long did this occur over? How many weeks or months? And at what point did it become abusive and controlling and coercive and intimidating? Because if it was right away, then we'd say, well, the flirting was happening after she was fawning, But it doesn't sound like that, and it doesn't seem likely. But I don't know. I would really be curious about that, because if the abuse started happening, she started to fawn, the flirting happened, and she was just like deer in headlights, then she's not voluntarily going along or open to someone flirting with her. But I don't know. I think it's not that. I think there was a period of time, the way that she tells a story, I think there was a period of time where she was open, and it was prior to the intimidation. She was being manipulated in all likelihood that entire time. It wasn't real, but before the intimidation and the threats, I think she was exhibiting that she was open. I'd be curious if the leaked. I'm actually not looking up the leaked stuff because it is an invasion of her privacy, and I think I might have said this, that if you come across leaked things of any sort, whether it be like a nude photo that someone hacked into someone's phone and posts, or leaked text exchange between people, case by case basis, but that's not okay. To have someone essentially, it depends, right? If someone's texting with someone and something's happening, and then one of the individuals leaks those text exchange, I generally speaking, I'm not a fan of that, but sometimes, it's certainly good, interesting reality TV material. Think about like the texts of Tyler on Love is Blind, those being leaked. Certainly is interesting, but I don't know. Anyway, so I'm curious as to what was being leaked, but I'm actually purposely not looking up because I don't want to play into the hands of the catfisher. I don't want to give that credence or attention. So anyway, I'm curious about where Mary was during that whole time.
No, it's not clear. I'm sorry, it's not clear. It's not clear. We'll go talk to Nancy to make it easy. Okay?
And I think Cody knows Mary enough to know that he won't get a straight answer from her if Nancy isn't there. The way that Mary talks, she, I think, is scared of conflict and will speak in these kind of defensive ways instead of, because it would make sense if Mary were off camera, because it sounds like they're not having those conversations. It's a possibility that for Cody, he knows off camera, there's no conversation. On camera, there'll be a little bit because Mary feels motivated. That's okay. Well, now's the time we talk about this. But with Nancy, then it even goes even better. That's my guess. But it would make total sense if Mary right now were to say, or off camera, were to say, look, here's the situation. I don't know where I'm at. I'm confused. I'm ashamed. I'm still dealing with this. I feel like I want some more sympathy about what I went through. I feel alone. My one daughter hates me. My daughter doesn't hate anybody, but hates me. And I just feel like I was victimized, and then I'm being victimized by my family afterwards, and I don't feel like I deserve that. And I'm angry, but I also feel like I deserve all, like something along these lines. And I also feel like, Cody, I don't know what I want with you. Part of me wants to re-engage, and part of me doesn't. And I don't know what to do with all, just something along those lines. But I think she just shuts down and clams up and is just like, and then like these like very short bursts of disclosure, and then she clams up again, and I think she's doing that right now.
And that's with Nancy, because you're already seeming antagonistic.
I'm not antagonistic. I just want to know. I'm tired of being in limbo. This catfish was planting things in my head and just telling me how horrible my family was, and specifically how horrible Cody was. That was one of the reasons why I didn't want him around. I was just angry at him.
Yeah, that's what controlling abusers will do, is they will isolate you and gaslight you into being alone so that the abusive stalker, victimizer can manipulate you to do whatever they want you to do. And it sounds like that's what was happening. I don't know if how volitional all that was, but I can't know what the motivation was for the catfisher, but yikes. So that really complicates things. For Mary, I'm guessing that she knows that a lot of that brainwashing was not true about Cody, but I'm guessing there's some of it that she's thinking, well, there was some stuff there that I actually still agree with. But is that just me being brainwashed? Or maybe I've been brainwashed by Cody. I don't know. So I imagine that she's quite confused. I haven't been showing all the clips, but she keeps asking him, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? But she hasn't said what she wants. And I think, I don't know, but Cody's not really being straightforward. But I think what he wants is to know what she wants. And she just keeps asking, what do you want me to do? And it's interesting, when you think about the religious group that they come from and the highly paternalistic society that they have in this group, that the man literally, because of decree by God, is, ranks higher in all the ways than the women, by far. Not only just religiously, but also power and decision. And so for Mary being raised in a polygamous family and having that modeled to her, and then having been in this family and in this group up until this point, and she might not know, and we've talked about this before, she might not know what her needs are. She might not have ever had that chance to ask that question. What do I want? Do I want to be in this relationship? And so she can't answer, so she needs other people to define that for her. And I think in the past, it was going well enough that in moments like this, Cody could answer that question for her and say, we're a family and we're going to do this. And she'd be like, okay, I have my life defined for me. It shows that someone cares. And I think, as she was pushing him away, I think he, either, I don't know what his motivation was, but I think at the very least it was respecting her wishes, right? And I think that now that he's away and he's grieved the loss to some extent, she's asking him for that definition of, what do you want? Because I think Cody is wanting to know what she wants. And if she wants it and if she's in it, then I think Cody is like, okay, let's do this, I think. Or Cody secretly wants her to leave and doesn't want to have to do it himself, or I don't know. But it is interesting to see her, because she made these choices. She made the choice, we could talk about her brainwashing prior and all that stuff, but she's a grown woman and she made those choices to engage with, who knows, online, and then eventually with the catfisher. She made every choice to respond and to call and to have those feelings and to entertain it. Eventually, she was being victimized, and that is not her choice, and the syndrome thereof is not her choice. But there was a time there where it was her choice. And she keeps saying that she pushed him away once it became intimidating and controlling, but I also just wonder if it was prior to that. It's hard to know. And from the description, I'm guessing that the victimization was always happening, right? But in terms of the intimidation, it could have been kind of interwoven, because given her background, I think particularly growing up in a polygamous family where she was like one of dozens of kids, right? Yeah, 25 kids, that she is easily brainwashed because she doesn't have a way to fight back against influence, right? All right, well, let's adjourn there for now. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.